I would like to invite Assistant Director of Flood and Repurpose in Pakistan, Alison Lapp from State Department, who have been overseeing the efforts that State Department have been doing for the help in recent floods in Pakistan. Alison Lapp, please.
Hi, good evening. I am very honored to be here tonight and want to extend my thanks to the Pakistani American Press Association for having me here. As introduced, my name is Alison Lapp, and I currently carry two titles, actually, the Office Director for USAID's Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance Office for Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean, as well as our Response Director for the Pakistan Floods Response. As the world's premier international development agency and in our capacity as the President's lead federal coordinator for international disaster response, USAID drives development results and leads the US government's response to natural disasters and complex crises around the world, including in Pakistan. In the wake of the devastating flooding that has impacted so many people, 33 million Pakistanis, we are committed to supporting the people of Pakistan at this difficult time by providing life-saving humanitarian assistance to those in need as quickly as possible. I wanted to share that earlier this month, USAID's Administrator, Samantha Power, as well as other USAID leadership, traveled to Pakistan and were struck by the devastation caused by this year's unprecedented flooding. Millions of acres of land, entire villages submerged in water. Millions of people displaced from their homes, taking shelter with family, friends, and neighbors. I know that I don't need to recount the statistics here, as many in this group are following the situation closely, and I want to acknowledge that many here likely have loved ones who are impacted by this catastrophe. The Pakistani people have shown tremendous generosity, serving at the front lines of this disaster since the very beginning, participating in search and rescue efforts, and providing food, shelter, and other care to those in need. Civil society and philanthropic organizations have also been mobilizing resources quickly and directing them based on their deep understanding of communities and their needs. And the Pakistani government has been leading response efforts adeptly, drawing upon resources and capacities from the whole of government. The US government has been supporting the Pakistan government-led response in coordination with the United Nations, other donors, and humanitarian actors. At the beginning of September, USAID, my organization, deployed a disaster assistance response team, what we call a DART, to lead the US government's response efforts for the floods. Our DART, composed of disaster response experts, remains at work on the ground, assessing the damage, meeting with community members, identifying priority needs, and coordinating with humanitarian partners and the Pakistani government. This year, the United States has provided $56.5 million to support both the ongoing flood response and disaster preparedness and capacity building in Pakistan. As part of this, USAID's portion, we have provided over $50 million for urgently needed food, nutrition, multi-purpose cash, health, safe drinking water, improved sanitation and hygiene, and shelter assistance. These programs are being implemented right now by United Nations and non-governmental organizations who often are partnering with local Pakistani organizations to get the assistance to the worst affected areas as quickly as possible. One of the greatest challenges in this response has been reaching those most in need because of the persistent flooding as well as widespread damage to infrastructure like roads and bridges. This is why USAID partnered with the US military to airlift nearly 630 metric tons of USAID emergency relief supplies from our warehouse in Dubai into flood-affected areas of Pakistan. These emergency shelter and kitchen supplies are being delivered right now by our partners and will reach 300,000 flood-affected people. Lastly, on Monday, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announced $10 million to support food security and agricultural productivity. This funding will support flood-affected farms by providing critically needed inputs like seeds, fertilizer, and livestock feed, as well as by rehabilitating irrigation infrastructure that has been damaged by the floods. We know that now is the moment to be investing in the agriculture sector before the wheat planting season is upon us. The funding will also support much needed nutrition and health services. Meeting urgent humanitarian needs is just the first step on the road to recovery from these devastating floods. We know that recovery and reconstruction will be measured in years, not months, and will require a coordinated effort from the Pakistani government, donors, international financial institutions, and other international actors. USAID's mission in Pakistan will work to promote priorities like agricultural development, health, economic development, and reconstruction. Accordingly, the planned bilateral development and health budget for Pakistan is $7.1 million for this fiscal year. Our mission is in the process of designing the next 5-year development assistance strategy for Pakistan now, which will really look to make sustainable investments that will bring benefits over many years. As part of this, the United States is committed to partnering with community leaders, government officials, and the private sector to strengthen Pakistan's ability to prepare for and respond to increasingly frequent and more severe floods and other natural disasters caused by climate change. We will prioritize programs to promote climate-smart agriculture, to increase crop production and mitigate the effects of climate change on agricultural production. These investments are key to making communities who are vulnerable to climate change and natural disasters more resilient and resistant to future shocks. While there's a lot of work to be done, I have no doubt that together we can do it. After all, we're here today to celebrate 75 years of a strong and resilient partnership between our two nations. Over these 75 years, we have worked together to respond to a number of natural disasters in the past. I myself was part of the team that was on the ground to respond to the previous catastrophic floods in 2010, and as part of that effort, we contributed funding to build about 100 state-of-the-art disaster-resilient school buildings, and of those, 20 are now serving as emergency shelters for those displaced by today's floods. We also, before that, came together to support the people of Pakistan in the aftermath of the major 7.6 magnitude earthquake in 2005. Over the last decade, USAID has also worked with Pakistani disaster management authorities at the federal, provincial, district, and sub-district levels, as well as with community leaders to help prepare for and mitigate the effects of natural disasters. These investments in capacity building helped contribute to the Pakistani government's accurate early warnings this time around about rainfall, landslides, and flooding that saved lives during this year's floods. Building upon this foundation together, working together, even in the most challenging of times, I know the United States and Pakistan are well placed to strengthen our shared efforts to help the Pakistani people respond to the current floods as well as the disasters of tomorrow. So on behalf of USAID, thank you again for the opportunity to join you tonight. This is not in my own remarks, but I started my career as a reporter for the Associated Press, so the quote on the bulletin behind me is very meaningful to me, and I look forward to many more years of partnership between the United States and Pakistan. Thank you.